"Mom, run! Get out now!" My son's voice cracked through the phone, sharp and panicked. At 35, I, Sophia, thought my family was my anchor, but his words hit like a gut punch. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" My hands shook, gripping the phone. "They're planning something bad. Leave." His whisper burned, pushing me to move, feet stumbling through the crowd's laughter. If you're watching, share where you're from in the comments and hit that like button. Subscribe to hear how my son's call ripped open my family's hidden betrayal. I slid the phone away, breath catching as I weaved through faces I'd trusted. "Everything okay?" my mother asked, fingers brushing my wrist too tightly. "Just a work call," I lied, forcing a grin while my pulse roared. Her eyes darted, lips twitching like unspoken regret. My brother's wife's glance felt loaded, quick, calculated, like I was the target. "Sweetheart, tell me what you heard," I hissed into the phone, stepping aside. "Dad and Uncle talking last night. They want to make you look unstable. For custody. Grandma's money, too." My stomach twisted. "You're safe?" "Yeah, pretending sick." The line went dead, fingers trembling as I clutched keys. Flash to the divorce 2 years back. My ex slammed the door. "You're paranoid," he snapped. "Always were." I stood alone, papers in hand, doubting myself for a moment. That doubt lingered now, but my son's warning shoved it aside. "Need anything?" my brother's wife asked, smiled too sweet, eyes probing. I shook my head. "Checking messages." Lie again. She lingered, her whisper to my mother echoing secrets. My mother's silence hurt most. I reached my car, hands fumbling the lock, breath hitching. Driving off, I dialed my son. "What else?" Uncle's wife pushing it, said trigger you at the party. Knuckles whitened on the wheel. Months of probes flooded back, her questions about my moods, my mother's distance. Family used to mean safety, but now it screamed trap. I texted my best friend, "Need safety, now." Reply, "My house." As I drove, chest tightened. Who was in deep? My son's call cracked the truth. I had to protect us. I sank onto my friend's couch, keys clattering to the floor. "Sophia, talk," she urged, locking the door. "My son called at the party, said run, they're plotting to take him and Mom's money." Her jaw dropped. "Who's they?" My ex, brother, his wife, maybe Mom. I rubbed my eyes, exhaustion hitting. "I'm scared. I'm not strong enough for this." She squeezed her shoulder. "You are. Start at the beginning." Flash to 2 months ago. My mother sat at my kitchen table, tea untouched. "You're distant," she said, voice soft but probing. "Your brother's wife mentioned missed appointments." I gripped my mug. "Missed? I'm juggling teaching and parenting." She looked down. "They think you need help." "Help?" My voice cracked. "Or control?" She stood, hesitant. "Just consider it." That hesitation now screamed complicity. "My son overheard them," I told my friend, voice shaking. "They want to record me snapping, prove I'm unfit. That's sick." "What else?" "Strange emails, photos of my house. Found a camera behind my bookshelf." She froze. "Camera?" "Yeah, ripped it out last week. Call my cousin, he's a PI." She dialed. "Hey, need you. Friends, families framing her. Cameras, lies." Pause. "Now." The investigator arrived, boots thudding. "Show me the camera." I handed over the tiny device. Found it after an email, my living room, midnight. He turned it over. "Cloud linked. I'll trace." "What's their goal?" I asked. "Custody for your son. Your mom's trust fund." My friend nodded. "Her brother's wife, psychologist, right? Bet she's the brains." I clenched my fists. "She's been pushing therapy, saying I'm stressed." Flash to 3 weeks back, Natalie, my brother's wife, cornered me at a family dinner. "Teaching's intense," she said, eyes sharp. "Ever feel it's too much?" I pushed back. "I manage." She tilted her head. "Your son mentioned nightmares." "He's fine," I snapped. She smiled thinly. "Denial's common." Her words, clinical but cutting, lingered. Now I saw her motive, not concern, but ambition. Her failing practice, hidden debts, needed my mother's money to survive. Any proof beyond his call? The investigator asked. I nodded. Emails. One had my house's photo, no sender. He plugged in his laptop. Give me access. I forwarded the email. IP's masked, but I'll crack it. My phone buzzed. My mother. Honey, where are you? Safe. Did you know? Silence. They said you're struggling? Struggling? Or set up? She whispered. I didn't know the camera. My heart sank. She was in, but wavering. What's your ex's deal? My friend asked. Money trouble. Asking too much about my life lately. My son texted, Dad's mad I left. Asking where you are. Reply, work emergency, I said. Smart kid, the investigator noted. He's my rock, I said, voice breaking. A quiet moment hit. I stared at the floor, doubting my strength. Could I outsmart them? My friend's hand on mine pulled me back. You've got this. Let's plan, the investigator said. Trace footage, emails. Confront your mom first. She's the weak link. I nodded, but fear not. Natalie's psychology skills made her dangerous, every word calculated. My mother's trust in her, in me, was her leverage, but her hesitation at dinner gave me hope. Mom's not cruel, I said. Maybe manipulated, he replied. Get her alone. I called my mother. Meet me. Park bench. No one else. I'm sorry, she said, voice cracking. I believed them. Prove it. Come. As I hung up, my friend said, Careful. Natalie's smart. She'll cover tracks. I nodded, staring at the camera in my hand. My son's warning, my mother's waver, my own doubt, they fueled me. I wasn't just a mom fighting for her kid. I was dismantling their lies, one step at a time. The investigator's laptop screen glowed in the dim room, footage rolling. Your brother's wife, entering your house, he said, pointing. Gloves on, snapping photos of documents. I leaned in, breath shallow. That's her. When? 3 weeks ago. IP leads to her office. My friend paced. Motive? Her practice is failing, debts piling from bad investments, using psychology to hide it. Thinks your mother's trust saves her. Flash to 4 weeks back, Natalie cornered me at coffee. Your mood swing, she said, eyes clinical. Therapy? I pushed my cup away. I'm fine. She leaned. Denial's her tool, she muttered, as if noting for a file. That tool now revealed her desperation, not just control, but survival, twisting family for financial escape. Emails, too, the investigator added. She coached your mom, phrases to trigger you. I dialed Valerie. Meet me. We need to talk. Honey, I'm worried, she said, voice trembling. She arrived at the park bench, hands clasped. You knew about the camera? I asked. She flinched. No, but they said you needed intervention, showed fake reports. Fake? Yes, I signed the trust changes thinking it protected you. Her eyes welled. I was wrong, blinded by fear for you. A quiet moment settled. I stared at the ground, weakness flooding. I trusted you most, Mom. How could you? She touched my hand. I thought I was helping. Now I see they used my love against us. Her arc shifted from manipulated pawn to regretful ally, forwarding emails. Use these. Stop them. More traces, the investigator said later. Your ex's phone near your house during a break-in. I confronted Lucas at a cafe. Admit it, I said, voice steady despite my shaking hands. He shifted. It was Natalie's idea. I'm drowning in rent, she said. Custody flips child support. And Alex? Better with me. I stood. You're done. He grabbed the table edge. Wait, but I walked, his plea echoing. Flash to last weekend, Lucas at drop-off. Alex mentioned your stress, he said. Need help? Alex tugged my hand. Dad, stop. That tug now strengthened me, but the memory brought a surge of doubt. Had I missed signs in my own exhaustion? Valerie called. Natalie's arguing with Travis, blaming me. Stay away, I said. I'm helping you, she insisted, voice firmer. Statement ready for your lawyer. The investigator nodded. Deleted notes recovered, her faking symptoms. I paused, reflecting in silence. Natalie's motive deepened, not greed alone, but fear of losing her facade, using mind games to mask failure. Confront Travis, my friend urged, with proof. At the bench, he approached, shoulders slumped. What do you want? Admit the plot. He rubbed his face. Natalie's pushing. Debts, her practice collapsing. I went along. Regret now? He nodded. Too late. I left, his weakness mirroring mine, but mine turned to resolve. Tension coiled as texts came. Natalie, lies won't stick. Ignore. Valerie's arc grew. She visited, hugging tight. I see my mistake. Fighting with you. Quiet reflection hit as I watched Alex sleep later. Thriller of chases faded into drama's ache. Family's core rotten, but my son's breath steady, grounding me. Julia's voice cut through the phone. Evidence, solid, footage, emails, statements. I gripped the receiver, doubt creeping. What if they twist it? I'm just one person. You're not, she said. Valerie's statement helps. A quiet pause hit. I sat on the floor, back against the wall, breathing slow. The thriller rush faded into drama's weight, my weakness exposed, but pushing me to prepare. Flash to a month ago, Valerie at my door, papers in hand. Sign these for protection, she said, eyes avoiding mine. Protection from what? Your stress. I took them. This cuts me out. She hesitated. Natalie said temporary. That hesitation now marked her arc's turn, from trusting Natalie to questioning, forwarding proofs to aid me. Meet Valerie first, Julia advised. Get her full account. At the bench, Valerie approached, hands trembling. I coached phrases to trigger you, she admitted. Natalie said it was intervention. Why believe her? Fear. I thought I'd lose you to breakdown. Her voice broke. But seeing the camera, I was wrong. She hugged me. I'll testify. Her arc deepened. Regret to resolve, love twisted but realigning. The investigator added, Natalie's notes recovered, faking symptoms for her failing practice, debts driving her to desperation. Natalie's motive layered, not power alone, but survival panic, using psych skills to manipulate family as her life unraveled. Confront Lucas, Julia said. At the cafe, Lucas sat, fidgeting. Admit the plot, I said, voice steady. He rubbed his neck. Natalie pushed. I needed money for rent. Alex? Thought better for him. I leaned. You broke us. He looked away. Regret it now. But his weakness echoed Natalie's, debt blinding him. Quiet reflection struck as I walked away, sitting alone on a curb. Thriller's chase slowed to drama's core. My doubt mirrored their flaws, but my son's face and mind steadied me. Travis next, the investigator urged. With footage. He met at the bench, slumped. Natalie dragged me in. Her debts, my firm tanking. Regret? Yes. I knew it was wrong. But his complicity lingered, secondary to Natalie's drive. Julia compiled. Hearing soon. Valerie's testimony key. Valerie called. Ready to stand with you. Her arc solidified. Misguided mother to fierce ally. Preparation built. My weakness turning to quiet strength. The hearing loomed, evidence bundled in Julia's brief. They're desperate, she said, pushing emergency custody. I sat in her office, fingers twisting a tissue. What if the judge believes them? I'm exhausted. Weakness washed over me, tears threatening. Julia touched my arm. Your strength is in the truth. Valerie's testimony seals it. Flash to 2 weeks ago, Valerie at my safe spot, eyes red. I confronted Natalie, she said. She denied, but her voice shook. What'd she say? That debts drove her. Practice failing, needed my trust to rebuild life. Valerie's arc peaked. From regret to confrontation, her love turning protective. That shake now showed Natalie's crack. Motive layered in panic and self-preservation. Courtroom air thickened as we entered. Judge banged gavel. Evidence? Lucas's lawyer, respondent erratic. Julia rose. Conspiracy, footage, video played, Natalie planting camera. Lucas shifted, sweat beading. Irrelevant, his lawyer snapped. Motive central, judge ruled. Valerie testified first. I was coached to provoke her. Signed fakes thinking help. Cross? Worried? Yes, but manipulated. Natalie's debts blinded me. Her voice steady, arc complete, misguided to truth teller. Quiet moment hit as she stepped down. I squeezed her hand, our eyes meeting in shared pain. Natalie on stand. Concern only. Julia, explain camera. Welfare check? With gloves? Natalie faltered. I panicked. Practice collapsing, debts mounting. I thought control fixed it. Her admission cracked the facade. Motive raw. Fear of ruin. Twisting family to survive. Thriller tension built in her tremble. Drama in her broken gaze. Lucas cracked next. Her idea, he pointed at Natalie. Debt pushed me. Judge, order. But damage landed. Alex's counselor remote. Child overheard. Brave but hurt. I reflected silently, heart aching for him. The drama's core. His innocence amid betrayal. Judge recessed. Outside, Natalie approached. Misunderstood. No, I said, voice firm. You destroyed trust. She walked away, shoulders slumped. Back in, judge ruled. Petition denied. Orders issued. Bang. Lucas left, head down. Natalie glared, but silent. Quiet reflections struck in the hallway. I leaned against the wall, breathing deep. Thriller's climax faded to drama's resolve. Weakness turned strength, Valerie by my side. We did it, she whispered, her arc affirming love's redemption. The courtroom doors closed, judge's ruling echoing. Denied. Orders issued. I stood, legs weak, as Lucas left, head down, Natalie glaring silent. Valerie hugged me tight. We did it, she whispered, her arc complete. From manipulated to steadfast ally, her love realigned through truth. But weakness hit. I leaned on the wall, breath shallow. What now? Julia patted my shoulder. Rebuild. Outside, no crowds, just quiet air. Thriller's end fading to drama's raw ache. My phone buzzed. Alex. Mom? One? Yes, sweetheart. Safe? We are. His voice steadied me, but doubt lingered. Had I protected him enough? Valerie drove me home. I confronted them last night, she said. Natalie broke, admitted debts drove her, twisting us to save herself. Natalie's motive deepened. Panic from failure, not malice alone, but self-preservation warping her psych skills into weapons. Lucas texted, regret everything. Ignore. Travis called. Natalie's crumbling. You're doing, I said. Hers too. He hung up, his complicit role exposed. Valerie stayed, helping pack remnants, old photos, her hands pausing on one of us. I failed you first, she said softly, but I'll make it right. Quiet moments settled. I nodded, her regret turning to quiet action. 3 months on, new house in North Park, simple, secure. Alex's room had his drawings. We walked mornings, his hand in mine. Feels good, he said. I quit teaching for mediation work, using pain to help others. Income steady, no trust needed, just us. Lucas lost visitation, supervised only, court-ordered therapy. Trying, he messaged once. Deleted. Alex chose space. He's sorry, but I like our life. Valerie downsized, cutting ties to Travis, Natalie. She visited limited, earning trust with calls, gifts. I see my blindness, she said at lunch. Fear made me weak. Her arc fuller. From fear-driven pawn to reflective supporter, love tested and renewed. Natalie's practice shut, debts overwhelmed, license probed. Her complexities surfaced in a letter. Fear ruined me. Sorry, burned it. Travis's firm collapsed. He moved away. Regret unfixing damage. Secondary shadows, their weaknesses mirrored mine, but I cut them clean. Quiet evenings. I reflected on Alex's sketches, us under stars. Drama's depth outweighed thriller's rush. Betrayal's cost in lost bonds, but gain in self-reliance. Nights, staring at ceilings, I unpacked it. The call's panic, footage's shock, ruling's relief. Weakness in doubt, but growth in boundaries. You're strong, Alex said, hugging. That bond, my core. Valerie's visits brought depth. I doubted myself too, she shared. Natalie's words preyed on my fear. Her arc inspired, regret to renewal. Natalie's motive haunted, desperation twisting expertise into harm, a caution. Therapy helped. Betrayal rebuilds you, counselor said. I saw it. Doubt turned vigilance, weakness to wisdom. Alex grew perceptive, his art healing us. This betrayal taught me family bonds can break under fear's weight. Trust instincts over smiles. Build boundaries, let go toxic ties for peace. Natalie's panic showed villains are human, driven by hidden collapses, but that doesn't excuse. Valerie's journey reminded love can redeem if earned. Lesson warns, spot probes early, seek allies fast. Value self-reliance, forgiveness optional. For listeners, have family secrets cracked your trust? How rebuilt? Share below. Thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, comment your stories. Let's connect.
My name is Susie Smith. I'm 28 years old, and I work as a software developer in a mid-sized city. On paper, I guess my life looks steady. Maybe even a little boring, good job, reliable income, tidy apartment. But if you rewind 3 years, you'd see a completely different version of me, one who believed love meant giving, sacrificing, bending myself to make someone else's dreams possible. That someone was Eugene. I met him at a friend's barbecue on a summer evening. He stood out immediately, confident, ambitious, always talking about marketing strategies and networking opportunities like the world was one big stage waiting for him to perform. I was quieter, the one who preferred coding projects over small talk, but he noticed me. Eugene had this way of making you feel like the most important person in the room when his attention landed on you. And that night, it landed squarely on me. He said he admired my stability, that while he thrived on spontaneity, he needed someone grounded, someone who could remind him of the bigger picture when his ideas ran wild. Back then, I thought it was balance. I thought opposites attracting meant we could fill in each other's missing pieces. One thing we bonded over instantly was travel. Eugene had this obsession with Europe-Paris for the romance, Rome for the history, Florence for the beauty. I'd never traveled far. My family couldn't afford those luxuries, but Eugene painted pictures so vivid that I started to want it too. We'd sit up late scrolling through Instagram accounts of couples standing in front of the Eiffel Tower laughing, holding hands. He'd say, "That's going to be us someday," and I believed him. So I made it happen. I started freelancing in the evenings, taking on brutal debugging projects until 2 a.m. Sometimes I skipped dinners out with friends just to save more. Even canceled my gym membership. Every extra dollar went into our Europe fund. By the end of a year, we had everything lined up. Flights booked, hotels reserved an itinerary. So detailed, Eugene joked, it was like a military operation. But I didn't care. It felt like proof of love. Proof that we were building something real. Or at least I thought we were. The last few months before the trip, Eugene started drifting. He'd go out to networking happy hours, coming home late with vague stories. His phone was practically glued to his hand. I'd catch glimpses of his smile when a notification popped up, but when I asked, he'd brush it off. Work stuff, babe. You wouldn't get it. It's all about connections. I wanted to believe him. I really did. Then there were the motivational quotes he kept posting online. Focus on yourself. Growth is everything. Don't let anyone hold you back. I thought he was just stressed trying to psych himself up. I even bought him a self-help book one Christmas. He thanked me, kissed my forehead, and tucked it into his drawer where it collected dust. But beneath the surface, I felt it a widening gap. I remember last Christmas vividly. I gave him a necklace I had custom-made engraved with the coordinates of the park where we had our first date. He smiled, hugged me, said it was sweet. He wore it once, then it disappeared into his nightstand buried under receipts and cables. Meanwhile, I was the one planning anniversaries, booking surprise dinners, keeping us alive. I told myself relationships had ups and downs, that it was just a phase. Then came the night that shattered everything. Eugene was in the shower, humming to himself while his phone buzzed on the coffee table. Normally, I'd never look. I believed in trust. But the screen kept lighting up over and over, and something inside me snapped. I picked it up. The preview read, "Can't wait to see you again. Last night was fire." It was from Sophie. My stomach dropped. Sophie. I knew the name she was at those networking events. I unlocked the phone. We'd shared passwords ages ago, back when trust was a given. What I saw made my chest tighten like a vice. Weeks of flirty messages. Eugene writing things like, "You make me feel alive again," and Sophie replying, "You deserve better than routine." Routine, that was me. Stability. When he came out of the bathroom, towel around his waist, steam clinging to his skin, I was sitting there with his phone in my hand. I didn't yell. I didn't throw the phone at him. I just asked quietly, "Eugene, what's going on?" For a split second, his face shifted from relaxed to cornered. But then instead of guilt or panic, he sighed, as if I'd interrupted his evening. "Susie, I think we should take a break," he said, tone casual, like he was ordering coffee. "I need to focus on myself right now." I blinked at him. "A break. You've been seeing Sophie. Don't insult me." He rolled his eyes. Actually rolled them. "Oh, come on. Don't be dramatic. Sophie's just a friend helping me with my career. We vibe. You and I. You're stable, sure. But you're predictable, Susie. Work, home, repeat. I can't breathe in this routine anymore." My throat burned. "So all the nights I stayed up helping you. Covering your rent when you were out of work. The trip we saved for, that's predictable to you." He shrugged. "We can reschedule. Or you can go alone if you're that set on it. Honestly, space will be good for us. You'll thank me later." I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. He was twisting everything, turning my loyalty into a flaw. I stood up slowly, keys in hand. "If it's space you want, I'll give you all the space you need." His eyes widened. Maybe he expected me to cry to beg. "Wait, just like that. You're not even going to fight for this." "What's there to fight for?" I said quietly. "You've already left." And then I walked out. That night I blocked him on everything: phone, social media, email. No explanations. No farewell message. Just silence. The next morning I logged into our travel account, changed the reservations, and claimed the Europe trip for myself. If Eugene needed focus, I'd help by removing myself entirely. But as I shut my laptop that morning, suitcase waiting by the door, one thought echoed in my head. This isn't an ending. This is the beginning of something I can't yet see. The flight to Paris felt like exile. I sat by the window, watching clouds pass like silent judges, each one reminding me of what this trip was supposed to be. I imagined Eugene in the empty seat beside me, holding my hand, whispering how this adventure would change us forever. Instead, the seatbelt buckle glinted cold and unused. When the plane landed, Paris was everything Eugene had promised: romantic streets, golden lights, the scent of pastries drifting from corner cafes. But instead of magic, all I felt was hollowness. Every landmark was a ghost of what should have been. The first morning I wandered along the Seine with a coffee that went cold in my hands. Lovers strolled by, arms intertwined, laughter, bubbling like champagne. I tried to imagine myself in their place, but the image blurred. Eugene had stolen that fantasy before it could take root. Still, I forced myself onward. If I gave up now, I'd be letting him win. I took photo sunsets over the Eiffel Tower, reflections on cobblestones after the rain, but I didn't post them. Not for show, not for him, for me. Quiet proof that I was here surviving. At night, the loneliness was brutal. I'd lie in my hotel bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying Eugene's smug shrug, his dismissive words. Predictable Susie. You'll thank me later. My chest tightened every time. Was I really that boring? Was stability a curse? One night in Paris, I wrote in my journal, until dawn, my hand aching. I poured every sacrifice onto those pages, paying his rent when he lost his job, staying up late, editing his presentations, saying no to promotions that would have taken me out of the city because he didn't want to move. Line after line, I listed my choices, and for the first time, I saw them clearly. Not sacrifices for love, but chains I'd clasped on myself. That realization carried me to Rome. Rome was different. Loud, chaotic, alive. The Trevi fountain sparkled with coins from hopeful S. Smithgers. I tossed one in myself, whispering a wish I barely admitted, "Give me strength to move on." It was in Rome that something shifted. Walking through ruins older than memory, I felt a S. Smith calm, Lives had risen and fallen here for centuries. My heartbreak. A drop in a vast ocean. I wasn't the first person betrayed. I wouldn't be the last. Somehow that humbled me and freed me at once. In Florence, I met him. It was late afternoon, golden light painting the streets. I had ducked into a gelato shop to escape the heat, fumbling with my Italian when the man behind me chuckled softly. Here, he said in accented English, "You'll want the pistachio. It's the best." His name was Tom, a graphic designer from Spain traveling through Italy for inspiration. He had easy eyes, the kind that smiled before his lips did, and an energy that didn't try to dazzle but invited you in. We talked about art, about travel, about what it meant to start over. I didn't mention Eugene, not yet, but Tom didn't pry. He just listened, offered stories of his own. He told me about a heartbreak years ago that pushed him to leave home and chase new horizons. His voice was calm, steady, like he understood silence as much as words. We shared gelato, then parted ways with a casual, "Maybe I'll see you around." And though it seemed small, I carried that encounter with me like a seed. By Amsterdam, I was different. I rented a bike and pedaled along canals, hair flying in the wind, no one to keep pace with but myself. I laughed, really laughed, for the first time in months when I nearly tipped into the water after a clumsy turn. A local helped me steady, and instead of blushing with shame, I laughed harder. I started to journal not about Eugene, but about me. The foods I tried without his picky vetoes. The Smithgers I met in hostels. The freedom of choosing my own pace, my own path. Each word was a thread weaving a new identity, not Susie who sacrificed, but Susie who lived. There were still nights when I cried when the weight of betrayal pressed against my ribs like a stone, but even those tears felt different. Cleansing, like washing Eugene's voice out of my head drop by drop. The turning point came one morning in Florence, weeks after that gelato shop. I opened my phone to check the time and saw an unread email. It was from Eugene, a new account since I'd blocked his old one. The subject line, "Miss you." I stared at it, heart thudding. My thumb hovered. Then, with a calm I didn't expect, I deleted it. No hesitation, no need to read his excuses. That was when I realized I didn't need closure from him. I was writing my own. By the time my return flight touched down, I wasn't healed completely. Scars take time. But I was stronger. My suitcase was full of trinkets, my journal. Heavy with stories, my heart bruised, but beating with a rhythm that was entirely mine. As I stepped out into the arrivals hall, the world felt different, lighter. Eugene had wanted space. I had given him all the space in the world. And in that space, I had found myself. Little did I know the story was only beginning, and the universe wasn't done testing me. Coming back felt smithch. After weeks of roaming foreign streets, my city looked both familiar and foreign. The same skyline I'd seen every day now shimmered with a subtle difference, or maybe it was me who had changed. I dragged my suitcase into my small apartment, quiet, modest, but mine. For the first time, the silence didn't feel oppressive. It felt like space to breathe. The first morning back, I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. Work emails had piled up, deadlines waited, but instead of dread, I felt possibility. Europe had planted seeds. Every cathedral, every cafe conversation, every train ride had sparked ideas. I sketched out a project I'd been dreaming about, an app for solo travelers, built to help people like me find their footing when they felt lost. Late nights used to mean helping Eugene polish his presentations, scrolling through his Instagram drafts, fixing the captions he couldn't word right. Now those hours belonged to me. Coffee in hand, code glowing on my screen, I worked until dawn, but this time the exhaustion was sweet. Weeks passed, and something remarkable happened. My manager noticed the prototype I'd quietly built. She pushed it up the ladder, and soon I was invited to present to the company. For the first time in years, I wasn't hiding behind someone else's ambitions. I was leading with my own. Meanwhile, Eugene's life was unraveling. At first, I didn't know much. I'd blocked him everywhere after all. But mutual friends have a way of leaking details, even when you don't ask. Over drinks one night, a colleague sighed and said, "You heard about Eugene, right? Sophie ditched him. Used him for a couple marketing intros and left. He's been spiraling." I sipped my glass slowly, pretending neutrality. Inside, a Smith G mix churned sadness for what we once had, vindication for what he'd done, and something like release. Karma had sharp edges, and he was feeling them now. I never gloated. I never reached out. I didn't even stalk his profiles. But the whispers trickled in. He'd lost opportunities, his influencer schemes fizzled, debt piled up. Friends stopped returning his calls. His confidence, the thing that once drew me to him, was cracking. And yet, despite all of that, Eugene couldn't let go of me. It started with a text from an unknown number late at night. Just my name, Susie. No punctuation, no context. I deleted it without replying. The next week, another. Can we talk, please? I miss you. I blocked the number. Days later, a voicemail slipped through from another contact. His voice was raw, almost pleading. Susie ignoring me is childish. I know I screwed up, but Sophie was a mistake. You and we had something real. Don't throw it away. Just give me a chance to explain. I deleted that too. The silence was my power. But Eugene never handled silence well. When begging didn't work, he escalated. One evening, my phone buzzed. With a message from a mutual friend, Eugene's been asking about you. Says you're being unfair. He's miserable. Maybe just meet him once for closure. Closure. The word burned. He wanted to tie up his story neatly, make himself feel better, while mine had been left shredded on the floor. I owed him nothing. Still, the pressure grew. His sister called me, her voice laced with accusation. He's hurting Susie. You're being cruel. Don't you think you should at least hear him out? I almost laughed. Cruel was discovering texts about last night was fire while I paid his bills. Cruel was being discarded as predictable after 3 years of sacrifice. I hung up before she could finish. At night, though, doubt whispered, am I being too cold? Should I at least listen? But then I remembered his smirk, his shrug, his dismissal, and I chose peace. Because while he was unraveling, I was growing. I joined a gym again, not for his approval, but for my strength. I started therapy, peeling back layers I'd buried under his needs. I reconnected with friends I'd neglected, laughing until my cheeks hurt. And then there was Tom. He'd messaged me out of the blue one evening. Hey, gelato girl, still coding at midnight. I smiled at the screen longer than I meant to. We began talking about books, travel, little things that made us laugh. He never pushed, never demanded, just offered warmth like sunlight filtering through blinds. Eugene, meanwhile, grew more desperate. Emails arrived from burner accounts. I saw your Europe pictures. You look amazing. I realize what I lost. Please, Susie, I'm lost without you. I never replied. And yet every unanswered message seemed to twist the knife deeper in him. Friends told me he'd been drinking too much, ranting about betrayal. To him, my silence was cruelty. To me, it was survival. One night, I sat on my balcony with a glass of wine, phone buzzing on the table with yet another unknown number. I let it ring until it died, the silence afterwards sweeter than the wine. For the first time, I didn't feel haunted. I felt free. But somewhere deep down, I knew this wouldn't last. Eugene was not the kind of man to fade quietly. A storm was coming, and sooner or later, I'd have to face it. The messages didn't stop. They multiplied. At first, Eugene's words carried the weight of regret. I'm sorry. I was stupid. Sophie meant nothing. You're the only one who ever believed in me. His tone was pleading, almost pitiful. But when I refused to respond, his mask cracked. Late one night, my phone lit up with a voicemail that left me trembling not from fear, but from recognition. His old arrogance was back sharper, now poisoned by desperation. You think ignoring me makes you strong, Susie? It just proves what I always said, you hide when things get tough. At least Sophie knew how to face problems. You run. That's why you'll end up alone. I sat there, phone buzzing in my hand, the city lights flickering outside my window. 3 years of loyalty, rewritten in his mouth as cowardice. My silence wasn't weakness, it was survival. But Eugene would never see that. The next day, another message came. His words swung wildly from guilt to rage, like a pendulum crashing back and forth. Please, I need you. I can't eat, can't sleep. Just call me 1 minute, that's all I'm asking. Then, hours later, how dare you ghost me like this after everything I gave you? You're proving me right. Predictable, boring, heartless. Sophie was a mistake, but at least she wasn't ice cold like you. Every word only confirmed what I already knew. Eugene hadn't changed. He wasn't sorry. He was angry that I'd stopped being his safety net. And still the world around me kept opening. At work, my app idea blossomed. The company greenlit it for development, and for the first time in years, I was in meetings where my voice mattered. My coworkers looked at me with respect, not as someone's plus one, but as a creator in my own right. In therapy, I learned to untangle the knots of guilt Eugene had tied around me. My therapist leaned back one session and said, "Susie, you're not cruel. You're enforcing boundaries. He just doesn't like them." That sentence burned itself into my chest like truth finally spoken aloud. And then there was Tom. He slipped into my life quietly like sunlight sneaking through blinds in the morning. Our chats became daily, then nightly. We laughed about travel mishaps, shared favorite songs, swapped photos of small joys, his sketchbook filled with street scenes, my cat curled in a laundry basket. One evening, he asked, "Do you ever regret going to Europe alone?" I thought about it swirling wine in my glass. No, I regret who I planned it with, but not going. It saved me. He smiled softly, even through the screen. Then maybe it was meant to be. You went looking for memories with him, but you found yourself instead. It startled me how much I wanted to believe him. Meanwhile, Eugene's attempts turned more theatrical. He showed up at a cafe I frequented, waiting at a corner table. When I walked in, his eyes lit up with relief like a starving man spotting food. "Susie," he stood, arms open. "Finally." My stomach dropped, but I held my ground. "Eugene, you shouldn't be here." He tried to laugh it off. "Come on, don't be like that. Just sit with me. 10 minutes. We can talk." I looked at him, really looked. His once polished hair was unkempt shirt, wrinkled eyes, bloodshot. He was unraveling. But pity is not love. "I don't owe you a conversation," I said, voice steady. "Please respect that." The cafe went quiet around us. A couple at the next table glanced up, sensing the tension. Eugene's smile faltered, anger flickering beneath. "You think you're better than me now because you took a trip without me, because you're playing with your little coding projects. Susie, you're nothing without me. You know that, right?" The words were meant to wound, but they bounced off. He didn't know me anymore. I walked out, leaving him frozen in place. The bell over the cafe door chimed like punctuation, full stop. That night I cried, not because I wanted him back, but because I finally realized how small he had become. The man I once loved was gone, replaced by bitterness. Tom called me an hour later, sensing something in my text. His voice was gentle. "Rough day." I nodded, tears wetting my pillow. He cornered me, said I'm nothing without him. There was silence on the line. Then Tom said firmly, "People who fear losing control say things like that. But Susie, you are more than enough. You always were." And for the first time, I believed it. But deep down, I knew Eugene wasn't finished. His pride couldn't handle defeat, and fate was about to throw us into the same room whether I wanted it or not. The invitation sat on my desk for weeks. Sarah and Michael. September 12th. A small, elegant wedding for two of our closest mutual friends. I almost declined. The thought of walking into that hall knowing Eugene would be there turned my stomach. But then I asked myself, why should I hide? Why should I let him dictate which rooms I enter? So I RSVP'd yes. The morning of the wedding, I stood in front of the mirror, fastening pearl earrings, smoothing the silk dress that shimmered in the light. My reflection startled me. I wasn't the Susie who had once begged for Eugene's scraps of affection. I was someone new, steady, luminous, unshaken. Tom arrived at my door with a smile that settled every nerve. He wore a charcoal suit tie, slightly loosened, holding a small bouquet. "For you," he said softly, handing me pale pink roses. "Tom," I whispered, touched. "They're beautiful." He looked at me like I was something worth celebrating. "So are you." The ceremony was intimate candlelight flickering against white roses lining the aisle. As Sarah walked toward Michael, her smile radiant, I felt tears prick my eyes, not from longing but from hope. Love like this still existed. It just hadn't been mine with Eugene. At the reception, laughter and music filled the hall. I was leaning into conversation with Tom when I felt that familiar, suffocating gaze. I turned. Eugene stood across the room, clutching a glass too tightly, eyes fixed on me like prey. His suit hung loose on his frame, hair messy. The confident charm I once admired reduced to a brittle facade. For a moment, the air between us froze. Then, like a man desperate for oxygen, he cut through the crowd and reached me. "Susie," he said, voice rough, almost breaking. "Please, just give me a second." Tom shifted beside me, protective but calm. I gave him a small nod. I needed to face this. We stepped aside to a quiet corner, the hum of music muffled behind us. Eugene's hands trembled as he set his drink down. "You look incredible," he said, eyes flickering over me like he couldn't believe it. "I've missed you every day. Sophie, she destroyed me, used me, left me with nothing." I was wrong, Susie. God, I was so wrong. But we can fix this. We can start over. I studied him. The same man who once rolled his eyes at my devotion, who called me predictable like it was an insult, now stood begging broken. Eugene, I said quietly, you didn't lose me because of Sophie. You lost me because you chose to throw me away. That was your decision. And this I gestured between us. This is the consequence. He shook his head violently. No, no, you don't mean that. We were good together. You were my rock. I need you back. Please, Susie, I don't have anyone else. For a heartbeat, guilt twisted in my chest. 3 years of memories of shared dreams of nights we whispered plans into the dark. But then I remembered the text, the shrug, the smirk when he told me I was holding him back. I steadied my breath. You're right, you don't have anyone else. But that's not my burden to carry anymore. His eyes welled, desperation leaking through cracks of anger. You're cruel. Blocking me, ignoring me, letting me spiral. How could you? After everything I gave you, this is how you repay me. Something inside me snapped, not in rage, but in clarity. You didn't give me everything, I said firmly. You took everything. My time, my sacrifices, my trust. And when it no longer entertained you, you called it boring. You called me boring. But Eugene, look at me now. I'm not boring. I'm free. Silence stretched between us, heavy as stone. And then, as if scripted by fate, Tom appeared. He slipped his arm through mine, his presence calm, steady, grounding. Everything all right here? He asked gently, eyes flicking to Eugene without malice, only quiet authority. Eugene's face crumpled. He saw it, the reversal. The woman he once dismissed now stood beside someone who valued her, someone who didn't need tearing down to feel tall. Who is he? Eugene demanded, voice cracking. I met his gaze without flinching. The man who reminds me I deserve better. The band struck up a lively tune, laughter, spilling from the dance floor. Tom squeezed my hand, whispering, Shall we? I nodded. Together we stepped past Eugene, leaving him rooted in the corner, clutching an empty glass, eyes hollow. As Tom spun me into the light of the dance floor, my dress catching the glow of chandeliers, I felt something unshakable settle in my chest. This was my life now, mine to live, mine to protect. Eugene had no place in it. Across the room, he watched powerless as the music carried me further away. Months passed after the wedding, but the memory of that night stayed vivid. Not because of Eugene's desperate plea, but because of what came after the dance with Tom, the laughter, the realization that my story had shifted. For the first time in years, my days weren't defined by someone else's needs. They were mine. At work, my app launched to early success. Travelers were signing up, sharing stories of how it helped them feel less alone. Every notification felt like proof that my pain had been Smith's formed into something useful, something alive. My manager hinted at a promotion, but more than that, I felt respected, needed for who I was, not just what I could give away. In my personal life, Tom quietly became part of my rhythm. He didn't sweep in with grand declarations or demand my attention. He was simply there, steady present, consistent. We explored small joys together, weekend hikes, late-night sketching and coding sessions, spontaneous drives to nowhere. His laughter filled spaces that used to echo with silence. Sometimes in quiet moments, I would catch him looking at me like I was a miracle he didn't want to disturb. And I realized this was what love should feel like, safe, freeing. Eugene faded like an old photograph. Mutual friends mentioned him less and less. One said he'd moved out of town, chasing another opportunity. Another shrugged. He's still the same, always blaming someone else. I nodded politely and changed the subject. His name no longer carried weight. Then, one autumn evening, Tom said, I want to take you somewhere. 2 weeks later, I was back in Paris. The city glowed as it had the first time, but everything was different. I wasn't wandering with a hollow chest anymore. I wasn't clutching memories that belonged to someone else. I was alive, fully present, seeing it all through new eyes. On our second night, Tom led me to the banks of the Seine, the water glimmering with reflections of golden street lamps. The air was crisp, leaves drifting like confetti in the breeze. He stopped, turning to face me, his hands warm as they held mine. Do you remember, he said softly, that day in Florence when we shared gelato and you laughed for the first time in weeks? I nodded, heart pounding. Yes. I knew then that you were someone extraordinary, someone who turned brokenness into light. Susie, I don't want to just be a chapter in your story. I want to be the whole book. Will you marry me? Time stilled. The world narrowed to his eyes, steady and hopeful, and the small velvet box he opened, revealing a ring that sparkled like it had been waiting just for me. Tears blurred my vision. Not the bitter tears I'd once cried over betrayal, but pure ones release gratitude love. Yes, I whispered, voice trembling. Yes, Tom. 1,000 times yes. He slipped the ring onto my finger, and the city around us erupted into quiet applause. Smithgers, who had paused, smiling at our moment, cheering softly. Paris had once been a place of mourning. Now it was rebirth. Later that night, as we walked hand in hand, I thought about Eugene, about how I had once pictured this city with him, how I'd bled to make that dream possible, and how in the end it wasn't his betrayal that defined me. It was my decision to keep walking without him. I leaned into Tom, whispering, "You know what's funny? Eugene once told me I'd thank him later for needing space. In a way, he was right. His rejection gave me freedom I didn't know I needed." Tom smiled gently. Some endings are blessings in disguise. Standing there, Paris lights shimmering around us, I realized betrayal hadn't broken me. It had remade me. I used to think I'd lost everything the night Eugene shrugged me off as predictable, but what I really lost was the version of myself who believed love meant shrinking so someone else could shine. Now I knew better. Love wasn't about sacrificing until you disappeared. It was about standing beside someone who saw you fully and said, "Yes, as you are." As the Eiffel Tower glittered in the distance, I whispered to myself, "This is my forever." And for the first time, I believed it.